Hello. So today's presentation is going to be on my polis, Kafira. My name is Konstantinos Ioannidis. Um, let's begin. As you can tell, by my beautiful pictures here, so my polis, my Greek city state is largely our economy is largely based around the trade of wine. Like we make a lot of wine on the island, and then also the export of marble. Okay, so we were founded in the late really 699, but like 700 BC to yeah, 700 BC, and then the current era which we are discussing is 700 to 500 BC. Um, and so this kind of goes into the material that we read in the book this week. Um, So 700 to 500 BC was kind of like the golden era of Greek city-state aristocracy. On on Kafara so far, th this is the era that we are in. So we've seen the development of a large aristocracy, landowning elite on this Greek city-state island or chain of islands. We are a very large city-state, so we are 170 square miles, including our main island and some of like the surrounding islands, which we have either direct control over or significant influence over. We are a polis of the Aegean, so we're like right. If you look down here, we're kind of like right in the middle of the Aegeans. You've got Crete down here. You've got mainland Greece, kind of northwest of our Acropolis, and we're right in between like hundreds of islands surrounding us. We are Because we're on an island, we have a lot of natural resources, but we are very largely trade and naval focused. Our economy comes from trading and from producing goods and kind of facilitating trade between Greek city-states. Our protector is Apollo. So this is not a direct quote from the reading. I'll explain the quote at the end, or like the connection at the end. So our kind of view on our city-state's view, popular view, is that victory must be forged in domination of our seas, diplomacy and trade with our neighboring Hellenes, militarization of our polis, and favor by our protector Apollo and favor with the oracles. So our city-state does not actually have a Panhellenic sanctuary, so we are not a hub for people to actually come to outside of trading. So this being said, we kind of seek to interact with our fellow Hellenes by actually competing with them in the Panhellenic Games, by through trade and other means, but really using that as a connecting point to connect with fellow Greek city-states and also win glory and honor for the island itself. And also win resources, because you can't have enough resources, especially when you're an island that does not have silver mines. So we don't have a way to just kind of produce wealth. We have to make it through either tradable materials or facilitating trade between states. Um, and in this week's readings, we kind of touch on this where the Panhellenic Games, the prize in particular is like thought to be like around $1,700, just in like pottery and oils. So that's like we need that. We want that. We are a land-owning democracy. So our assembly is constructed of all male citizens who own property over the age of 30. Citizens are only male. Just, it's historically accurate, unfortunately. I didn't want to kind of change a bunch of things. I feel like this would be closer to historical norms. So our state is actively kind of in the danger of devolution, either towards pure oligarchy or tyranny. Naval or hoplite soldier army service is expected by all first sons on the island. And it's also strongly encouraged for others to contribute to these efforts um, and maintain and just the standing social order. Um, Trading is one of the primary pathways to owning land and achieving, like, becoming part of the ownership class. And military roles are typically promoted kind of between both actual merit and obviously social standing. Now, the Code of Kafira, which is our legal code essentially, um, is a bit draconian, similar to Athens before their reforms. So, criminal actions are enforced via public trial. These sentences can include ostracism up to 8 years, loss of citizenship if severe enough, fines, or debt slavery, or a combination of any of these factors. Theft or destruction of property results in debt slavery until the damages are repaid in full, often to wealthy landowners or merchants. Laws are posted in each like major settlement of Kafira, and citizenship is very inherently tied to legal status and subject to these bounds. So criminal actions can ultimately lead to um, loss of citizenship and ostracism or a combination of those factors. Um, since we do, like I said, since we do lack a Panhellenic sanctuary, diplomacy and interhellenic cultural exchange is a little bit more limited. So we have to facilitate it ourselves through trade. We maintain a very strong trade and trade relations with multiple Greek city-states across the Aegean, even closer to Athens and some of the other states, um, essentially to trade goods, but also to form alliances and maintain relations at the same time. And this is kind of where we're going to leave off. I'm already a little bit over, but essentially, our state is reaching a little bit of a boiling point. Reform is necessary. Our state kind of stands where Athens did before their reforms. So essentially, most property is held by wealthy landowners. There is a large like movement of social dissent and kind of like pushback. And the existing order is starting to break down a little bit as people are not able to fulfill their livelihoods on the island. So this could be solved through kind of a few avenues and pathways. The first would be obviously to reform the system. That would be the most ideal. Ideally, our city-state would reform and implement changes to actually aid the entire populace. Maybe outlaw debt slavery like Athens, um, make sure that all men are entitled to the right to vote. While they technically are, many don't, and also you have to own land. Most men on the island do not own land because they can't afford it. So, reform to this would be like a blanket, every man has the right to vote. And then obviously this may not unfortunately happen, which could lead to kind of either one or two avenues. either the adaptation of an oligarchy that controls everything on the island and just dissolution of a faltering democracy, or a popular figure in the military, part of the social elite, which kind of feels the wind moving in the opposite direction, who wants to get ahead of the social change and or revolution, may become a tyrannic figure, and mobilize public support to overthrow the existing order, hence securing their place in power. I would lean more towards tyranny, honestly. Obviously, I don't want this, but I feel like the circumstance would ultimately lead us down that path. Also, just based on the militarized society, this is a very militarized city state. Granted, we are a we're a decent sized city state in the Aegean. We're a large one, and we have a strong navy. So we want to protect against our neighbors. We want to directly influence our neighbors and forge alliances. So there is a strong military, granted not as strong as some of like the larger city states. So I could see this kind of turning against the state itself. And yeah, so that is essentially my city state. I hope that you all enjoyed. Our goals are to essentially trade with other city states to kind of bring in resources that we ourselves may not have. We do not have access to silver mines, so it would be good to trade our raw goods and materials for silver to better manage our city state's economy and pay a military. So yeah, that's it. Hope you all have a nice day. I'm trying. Oh my goodness. There we go. Bye.